Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with fabulous concert programs number 94. Wow, 94. The next in our Tournemire Symphony cycle. And this is a weird program for a weird symphony. I freely confess, this is kind of experimental, but I've played it and I've listened to it, and it works. After its own fashion. You just have to be in the mood. Anyway, we're talking about Tournemire's 8th Symphony, marked Le Triomphe de la Mort, the triumph of death. But it really ought not to be thought of that way, because there's nothing death-like about it at all. Nothing. It's actually a very pastoral, lucid, almost Delius-like piece in some respects, although it's written for just an enormous orchestra. It's got saxophones and it's got a lute. A lute? Yeah, he got that, I think, from Mahler, from the guitar and mandolin stuff that Mahler wrote. But it's got a lute, and it's got like 2 sarrusophones and 2 tubas, but each movement, and it's kind of in 4 movements divided into 5 bits, or 5 movements and 4 bits, depending on how you look at it. Where the title came from and what death has to do with any of it, I have no clue. I think possibly Tournemire just intended it as his sort of valedictory symphonic statement. It ends happily, more or less happily. The orchestration is, like I said, although it's huge, each movement has its own setup. It doesn't have a lot of contrast between movements. Some are quicker, some are slower. It's more a contrast of texture and density than it is of emotional expression, because the whole piece is peaceful. The whole piece is peaceful. The whole work is peaceful, tranquil even. And you don't get any sense that there's the kind of angst and insecurity that comes with contemplating death. It doesn't do that. So it's a very, very curious piece. It's a little bit more than half an hour long, I think, somewhere in there. And it's a hard thing to program for that reason. Where are you going to put it? So I put it on the first half. You just have to do it right away and let people kind of get into it, because they're going to be puzzled. And it's strange. And I lead off this concert with Holst's ballet music from The Perfect Fool. Why? Well, Tournemire was kind of a spiritual guy, and Holst was kind of a spiritual guy, mystical in his non-traditional way. Tournemire was more traditional, but I for some reason these 2 pieces kind of work well together. I can't quite explain it, but if you listen to them yourself, I think you'll agree. I really do. I think you'll see exactly what I have in mind. And it works really well because the 8th ends with a bang, and people can go away puzzled, scratching their head, going, what does that have to do with the triumph of death? Well, nothing. And then after intermission, here comes the whopper. Haydn's The 7 Last Words in its original orchestral version. Now, this is a piece that never gets performed, very seldom. Riccardo Muti did it at the Salzburg Festival. Some people do it in the original church in Spain that it was written for, with, in the context of a religious service with sermons between each movement. But it is a wonderful work. It's a masterpiece. It was Haydn's most popular work in his own lifetime, probably. And it's also a very spiritual piece, but in a different way. And so I thought it would really be kind of interesting to have these 3 very, very different aspects of spirituality expressed in abstract orchestral terms. And I think that it's just kind of cool. I really do. The 7 Last Words is just magnificent. I understand it's 7 slow movements with an introduction and a final earthquake that wakes you up with a bang. Fortunately, it brings the audience to its feet at the end. But even so, these slow movements are full of contrast. It's like the Tournemire in that it has lots of internal contrast. It's not obvious from initial listening that there's a whole range of emotion in this piece, but there is. There really is in the Haydn. There is in the Tournemire too, but it's subtle, and it's for a special time. and I think a special concentration in listening. And there's no point in trying to gild the lily with this one. You don't like throw in a Rachmaninoff piano concerto with the Tournemire Eighth or with the Haydn Seven Last Words for that matter. I think you just have to say, look, this is a concert about aspects of spirituality, and you will hear them or not as your own musical inclinations dictate. I think you'll hear them. I think you'll enjoy them. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.